What's up, chat? Welcome back to another discussion video. Today, I want to discuss a problem within Dress to Impress that's been ongoing for months since its initial release: the dolls. And the only reason that I'm doing this now instead of months ago is because it keeps getting more and more outrageous every time, and it needs to be talked about. I'd also like to say, besides prices, dates, official DTI statements, and times, the majority of this video is based off opinion and speculation from myself and the community, rather than a fact of the intentions behind DTI's dev team. The dolls were first announced back in April of 2025, and everybody already thought that this was extremely controversial. Many people were looking over to Royal High, who went down the same path of releasing dolls with exclusive items in them, and they quickly went down a path of greed. They kept releasing more and more dolls with more and more items behind them, and quickly the game became pay to win. The players caught on and were very upset, and Royal High went downward fast. The Dress to Impress Season 1 mystery dolls first only released in Europe. It didn't release in the United States until about a month or two later. I bought some and they were $12.99 each plus tax, so it was about the same price as what it was in Europe. The first dolls that they put out only had DLC codes for face makeups, because according to Dress to Impress, they didn't want to hide too many items behind the dolls, which here is the quote from them. "Our focus will always be on the game and on you, the community. We will not be prioritizing dolls over our game or our player base. Dolls are something fun and extra. We will not be locking tons of items behind buying the dolls. There will be codes to redeem included, mostly for makeup rather than items. We don't want you missing out if you can't purchase the dolls. Fat Mojo is prioritizing making great dolls and making them accessible around the world. We want players in lots of countries to be able to get the dolls. Our team is focused always on doing right by you, our community, and DTI will never prioritize pay-to-win strategies or make you feel like you're missing out if you're not able to purchase things in real life." Now, this statement is from a really long time ago. This was April 4th of this year, 2025, so you can see how Dress to Impress has deviated from their initial statement about pay-to-win strategies in dolls, because they keep releasing more and more dolls. They also released a Diamond Pass recently during the Halloween update, which is kind of a pay-to-win strategy with Dress to Impress. The more items you have, the better you're able to perform, because you can make your outfits look more interesting when you have more items to work with. Of course, this is common sense. With the Diamond Pass, as an example, you have more items if you buy it. Same with any of the sets in the game, or VIP, or the increased item limit. You can't really say that Dress to Impress isn't pay to win, especially when they keep releasing more and more things that are behind paywalls. Since a lot of people want to compare DTI to Fortnite to defend the Baddie Pass, think about how there is no advantage to the game depending on what skin you have, or what pickaxe you have, or gun skins, etc. The list goes on. The only slight advantage I can think of is specific skins or gear causing more lag because of effects and item rendering. But this has a minimal effect on gameplay in my opinion, and doesn't necessarily make Fortnite pay to win. If any Fortnite nerds want to clock me, go ahead. I don't want to focus too much on the Diamond Pass or anything else in this video, I just want to go over the dolls. And there is a lot to go over here, but we're just gonna have our main focus on that. Now, there were 10 dolls in this first line, and there are two special dolls of those 10 dolls, the Lana and the Lana doll. There was a lesser chance to get them since these were mystery dolls, which I'm sure most of you know. There were a few major issues with these first set of dolls. One being the fact that it appeared to be a cash grab due to what I'll be referring to as the gambling aspect. As I said, they are mystery dolls. There was no guarantee that you would get a specific doll from each one. You just had to buy a bunch and hope you didn't get any dupes. And I know some people who have gotten as many as 6 dupes for a single doll, which if we do the math, each doll is approximately $13 in the United States without tax. That person spent $78+ getting a bunch of dupes. $78+. That is a lot of money, okay? Just on dupes. I luckily was able to get all the 9 that I wanted in the first go, and I was able to trade and give a few away as well, but not everyone is that lucky. Overall, it's basically gambling. In a perfect world, you would only have to pay around 150 USD for these dolls, but considering how many dupes you definitely will get, the number can go a lot higher. I would say on average, you'd probably have to spend around $200 to $250. And that number may be bigger because some people are really unlucky. Not only was there an issue with the greed behind these dolls, but the quality of the dolls itself was not that great. For $13, you would think it would be decent, but honestly, it's really not. I have some of these dolls, so I do know that the quality is not that great. It's kind of like a Polly Pocket, maybe a little bit worse. They're kind of chopped too. I will say, it was better than what I was expecting, but still just not that good. It's not something that I would put on the shelf to show off to people. The clothes are not that good. They're just made of this plastic rubbery material. If any of you have them, you'll know what I'm talking about. Another thing that I especially noticed when I first opened these dolls was the amount of plastic in these packages. I think there's 4 individual bags in each package, and it's also wrapped in plastic. and the container itself is plastic. And the dolls are plastic too. And all of this plastic is for one tiny doll that is like 4 inches tall. And all of that plastic will just be going into a landfill or into the ocean. In my opinion, this is overconsumption at its finest. I find it extremely wasteful because from what I've seen around the community, most people only want the codes from the dolls rather than the dolls themselves. The doll is not a high quality doll that you would want to have on display or to just have as a collector's item, at least in my opinion. It's very likely that nobody's going to be playing with these dolls, especially when most of the people who are buying them are influencers or adults such as myself. Adults and influencers are the only people who can afford these dolls, since kids can't have a job and would have to ask their parents instead. And I don't know about y'all, but my mom would have said no to me. I do plan to do something with my dolls. As many of you know, I have a baby sister, so when she's old enough, I'll probably give them to her, or I'm gonna melt them into a crown as a statement to DTI. I'd also like to mention the lack of availability in other countries, as well as the pricing in some countries. It can be a lot more than just 13 USD, especially considering some people are reselling them on eBay for as high as $300. And the chances of you getting scammed from buying this off of eBay, pretty high probably. Just be wary if you do plan to buy it from somebody. Now, I'm not just gonna sit here and complain about these dolls. There is a lot to complain about, but there is also a solution that would be so easy to implement, even if it's still pretty ridiculous. So to combat the gambling issue and overconsumption, they could have made these faces something that you can purchase virtually. Perhaps you can just pay 399 Robux. Obviously, when you put this into perspective, you're paying about 4 USD for a single face, but it's not as bad as having to pay $13 for a single face. You also have to pay for the gas to get to whatever store it is if you're doing pickup, and just having to do the hunt for it as well, since a lot of stores don't have it or are sold out. This process can be time consuming. Having to purchase the doll also contributes to pollution at the end of the day, so having it be a virtual item that you can buy would help so much. We need to do everything we can to help our environment, even if it's something as minuscule as this. I know a lot of people who have already thrown them out just because they don't care about the doll itself, they just wanted the code. And I don't know how Dress to Impress wouldn't have thought about this problem. They definitely had to take it into consideration. There's just no way they couldn't, especially with the amount of packaging in them. I don't know how somebody could not stop for a second and think, man, this is a lot of plastic for a really small doll. And the devs also knew that most people were only gonna want the dolls for the codes. The community has said over and over again that they do not like the dolls. They don't like the quality, they don't like the concept, they don't really like anything about it. We only really want the codes. So to have an option to buy online would solve these problems, as well as it not being available in many countries. I'd also like to add that the dolls are promoting gambling to children, since the target audience of DTI are children. While I do think the doll line was meant to appeal to adults and influencers, that's just my opinion, these are still children's dolls based from a children's game on a children's platform. It is supposed to be marketed towards children, even if I personally believe that they were trying to appeal to adults and influencers. It is a children's doll. Adults don't really play with dolls. Clock me if I'm wrong. The only reason that I think they did it like this is to get more money, which is why everybody has been calling it a cash grab. Because why not just sell the dolls individually so you can choose which face you want and not have to worry about getting dupes? You're not guaranteed anything with the mystery dolls, which they claim is to be just for fun. I personally do like mystery boxes and things like that, so I can get behind this concept. However, with this situation, I do believe they're taking advantage of the mystery aspect, not to make the dolls fun, but to raise their profits. You're gambling for a single face in the game that is way over the price that it should actually be, because once again, with what we've seen from the community, nobody really wants the dolls, they only want the faces. For example, I recently bought a mystery package, which was a Hello Kitty anniversary figure, and it only had one little plastic bag and the figure. That's all it was. It didn't have any online DLC code or anything like that, obviously. It was just the physical item, and that's exactly what I wanted from it. Versus the DTI doll, I'm forced to buy something that I don't actually want to receive something that I do actually want. And that extra item inflates the price ridiculously. Once again, I just want to reiterate the grievances of the community. Most people don't care for the doll and only want the code, so using this marketing tactic very clearly appears as a cash grab, since the doll, despite its low quality, is much more expensive than a single face. Also, the concept of making people pay for a single face does not sit well with most people. So include the doll and it appeals a tiny bit more without seeming as greedy. So I do think that they should just add a feature where you can buy the DLCs in game. They can release dolls if they want to, because I'm sure there's a few people that will still want the experience or they'll actually want the doll. Me personally, I don't know why you'd want that doll specifically. There's so many better quality dolls out there. There are still some people who still want the doll, but there's a lot more people that don't care for the doll and they just want the face. Sorry sorry I'm saying that over and over again. I just feel like the devs don't really understand that point enough. Either that or they ignore it. But you're still going to be forced to contribute to overconsumption, and you're still going to have to gamble whether you like it or not. Both are bad things that you should not be forced to do just for a face, and you might not even get the one that you want. So overall, the first line of dolls was just the start of the downfall of Dress to Impress, in my opinion, which you guys should watch my downfall of Dress to Impress video about the Lady Gaga update and the controversy surrounding the dev team. Little shameless self-promo there. I speculated way before that this doll line was going to be the beginning of the end because it shows the corporate greed behind the Dress to Impress team, in my opinion. After this first season of dolls was released, they did release another doll during the summer update, the Lana lore doll. It wasn't a mystery doll and it was a bigger doll this time, but this doll had an item behind it, the feather headpiece. And this one really shook the community because when they read the original statement, it said that there wasn't going to be items behind the dolls or mini items behind the dolls. And they kind of go off the technicality that they were talking only about the mystery dolls and not their other line of dolls. But they made it seem like they meant all dolls. And this assumption makes a lot of sense because when you specifically word your statements to make it seem like there's not going to be any items, and then you go back and say, oh, we only said the mystery dolls won't have any items, not our regular dolls that aren't mystery dolls. When you specifically word it like that, and especially when you have a community that is filled with young children who, no offense, this is not meant to be mean, but they lack reading comprehension skills, you're tricking your audience into thinking that there's not going to be any exclusive items behind these dolls. It kind of reminds me of the use of passive voice versus active voice. Rather than saying, we made mistakes, you say mistakes were made, to subtly avoid accountability with your statement. That's just an interesting comparison that I'd like to include. And then when players actually see the items hidden behind the dolls, the devs can go back and be like, oh, well, you guys didn't read what we said right because we clearly stated that it won't be in the mystery dolls, and we're not going to lock tons of items, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to do any items at all. Personally, I really did not like the wording of these. I caught on to it when they first made these statements, and it just felt really odd to me. I feel like they've worded it that way so that they could just act like we told you guys the truth, but you guys just don't know how to read, which they've made similar statements to that during the Lady Gaga update. But they worded it in such a way that it's meant to confuse you into thinking that there's not going to be any items behind the dolls. That's my personal opinion about how they worded it, because you would think they should just be straightforward with it. Something like, we will release the dolls that do have items hidden behind them, but they won't be our mystery dolls. Just be outright, just say that you're gonna release some other types of dolls that do have in-game items attached. Don't choose this sneaky wording that makes it sound like you're not gonna release any items behind any of the dolls. Or in their other statement where they said there's not gonna be any items, why don't you say only the mystery dolls, but not our regular line of dolls? Why not just clarify that so that people have a better understanding of what they're going to be seeing with the dolls that you release? It only takes like 2 seconds to add that disclaimer in there, and then you avoid a lot of confusion and upset in the community. And I hate that they put the blame on the community for misreading that, when I feel like they intentionally worded it that way to confuse people and appear less greedy. I also want to briefly mention how this directly correlates to the lack of proper communication between the devs and the community. If the devs were very straightforward with their statements about these dolls, people would have known what to expect, and the devs wouldn't be accused of lying about not putting items behind the dolls. Considering DTI is a company, you would think they would be more thoughtful in their marketing, especially when their audience is majority children. This is definitely something I feel they should work on internally to avoid confusion in the future, because their lack of transparency about the dolls made them all the more controversial. And I feel like people really started to hate the dolls even more after this Lana doll. When I first saw the doll in screenshots, it was $34. Right now for me on Target, it says it's $24, but prices vary. I saw one on Walmart earlier for $89, which is the same Lana doll. In my case, and in many people's cases, it's $89 just for a code. That's a lot of money. That's near $100. That is a lot of money. Dress to Impress did make a statement regarding the Lana lore doll because people were really upset about it. And it starts off by saying, "Hi guys, I just wanted to clear the air with the recent community feedback so you have full transparency from our team. We understand that items and toys can cause extreme fear of missing out and not everyone can buy the toys. When we first announced the toys, we specifically said we will not be locking tons of items behind buying the dolls. We wanted our lore-based toys, namely in this instance, Lana, to feel special and come with lore-related items. These items are unique but won't take away from the gameplay of anyone who doesn't have them, and there will be zero pressure from us to purchase them. Only our lore toys will have in-game items. We do not plan to make every single toy in the Dress to Impress line have an in-game item as a reward. We are beginning to introduce new ways to have items like UGC with future dolls and releases. I would also like to say that we try our hardest to update the game, so these toys should feel like an add-on rather than a need. Again, we totally understand how sad this can be for a lot of you, and we are sorry, but we can only move on from this and reflect from it, which we are. We value all of our players' opinions and hold them to the highest standard possible. We love Fat Mojo and their willingness to listen listen to us and our community, and I'm sure with the feedback we've been seeing, we can keep conversations moving on rewards. We've been working with Fat Mojo to make our toys worldwide with 60 countries over the next 2 months. I know sometimes it can feel like we aren't listening, but we are, we promise. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So it's only right for us to learn and try to do the right things in the future that would make you happy. All toys should have some sort of reward with them, to give the extra wow factor. So if you have any ideas besides UGC or makeup, let us know. A lot of people really didn't like this announcement, obviously. I remember seeing it going around in my server as well as Reddit and also in the suggestions channel in the DTI server, which is still closed by the way. It's been like 2 months now. I heard a lot of people saying that they really didn't care about the wow factor and didn't see a need behind putting codes behind the dolls. The doll itself should be the wow factor. You shouldn't have to incentivize buying these dolls by putting in-game items in them, which includes the faces. The dolls should just be good enough on their own, right? At least that's just my opinion about it. I feel like people should actually want to buy the doll because of the doll. And people just think it's a cash grab because they can make the dolls more expensive than they can make an item that is within the game. Because if you think about it, it's a single item that you receive, being the feather headpiece. If you put that price into Robux, it would be 3,500 Robux. And people would say that that's outrageous, because it is. But if you can put it behind a doll, you can say that the doll is part of the cost. But nobody really cares about the doll. Nobody really wants the doll, at least from my understanding, most people don't. I feel like there's a lot better quality dolls that you can buy if you're really just trying to go for a high quality doll with that amount of money. I think there's so many better options for that amount of money, because $35 is a lot. And I've seen different prices everywhere. I've seen some people reselling them for even more. As I said earlier, I've seen some be around $300, which surely Dress to Impress would have known that this would happen too, considering they sell out pretty much any time they get in stock. People also felt like the idea of only having exclusive items behind lore-related items was kind of stupid, for lack of a better word. Lots of people questioned what a feather headpiece had to do with Lana's lore, since apparently it's related, according to this statement. So riddle me this, Dress to Impress. What does a feather headpiece have to do with Lana's lore? I'd love to know. Also, to say that there is zero pressure to buy them, I can't think of another way to describe it other than being stupid. Because obviously there is pressure to buy them if you're putting items behind them. People want more items in this game. People want more creative freedoms. This game is based off of creativity. So of course there's incentive to buy a beautiful and unique headpiece. This doll's release was at almost the exact same time as the Vanilla Mace collab, and a lot of people were comparing the Vanilla Mace code to the Feather item code. The free Vanilla Mace item code you could remake in the game using 2 items. It wasn't that detailed, it wasn't that pretty. The Feather headpiece was totally unique, so of course people would want it more. When you compare the free items to the ones that you have to pay for, there seems to be pressure to buy those items. This is pretty obvious too. If you're paying for the item, you should get a higher quality item, but that's also how they pressure people. So in my opinion, they can't say that they don't pressure people. I don't understand how that argument even works, honestly, because obviously they want people to want to buy things. So by making higher quality items behind paywalls, people are going to want it more, and that pressures them to buy it. It's just common sense in my opinion. Most people felt upset by this statement because they basically acknowledged that everyone was upset about the dolls and offered zero solution to the problem. Only announced that they'll continue doing what we don't want, while also preaching that they listen to the community. Why do something that most players don't like? Simple answer, money. One thing that I also noticed personally and didn't like about these dolls is the lack of marketing related to them. When the Lana doll dropped, there was no announcement for it. I didn't really see it anywhere and I couldn't find it anywhere. It was basically like hearing rumors about this doll and I didn't know if they were true. People would send the picture around in my server, I'd see it on Reddit, I'd see people talk about it in the suggestions channels on the DTI server, I saw videos about it being a cash grab, but I never actually heard anything from the team until this announcement, which was responding to the backlash about it. You'd think they would have announced something about it. To me, it almost felt like none of it was real and people were just making up rumors. The lack of attention on this doll was just so weird to me, because why wouldn't you bring attention to something you created that'll bring up your profits? Because like, they announced the first doll line, so what's up with this doll? Why didn't we make an announcement for her? To me, it almost felt like they were trying to hide it, which that's just my speculation, of course. I think that they wanted to avoid backlash as much as possible by sneakily releasing the doll with no marketing because the community would have exploded all at once, instead of dealing with all of the backlash at once. they can deal with small amounts over a period of time and hope the community will forget about it. Once again, that's just my speculation due to the lack of marketing with this doll. I think a good comparison to make is the Lady Gaga event. It all happened at one time, so the entire community was all upset at one time and exploded. Versus with this doll, it happened over a period of time, so it's not like there was ever really an explosion over this. And they didn't have to deal with as much backlash all at once because it was over a period of time, and it was a lot calmer for them to deal with it that way. Obviously, the Lady Gaga update was way too much for them to deal at one time, and their server has been closed for almost 2 months because of it. Actually, I think it's been 2 months. I genuinely thought this doll was a rumor because I couldn't find the doll anywhere. I couldn't really find any information about it other than screenshots. But let me know how you guys feel about that. I'd also been seeing a commercial circulating about 5 dolls that they're releasing, and I once again could not find very much information officially from Dress to Impress about these dolls, or if this commercial was even real. It was 5 dolls, one of them was Lana, which I'm pretty sure that they're releasing them now, because I'm pretty sure it included the Gyaru doll. But once again, it just felt like something that people were making up to cause drama because nobody really liked the dolls. Because Dress to Impress just wasn't giving any clarity about the dolls, so I didn't know what to think. Anyways, let's move on to current day. About a month ago, I heard information circulating about Season 2 mystery dolls. They were once again only released in Europe first and are yet to release in the United States, at least where I live. However, none of them had DLC codes that were working. You could only buy the doll at the time. And the DLCs only started working when the Halloween update dropped, which I think that's very odd. Why not release the dolls when you have the DLCs working? Doesn't make any sense. Once again, there was no announcement about the dolls when they first started being pushed out, at least from the Discord server, which is where I get my information on. The first announcement I saw about them in the Discord server was from October 1st, but I had been hearing about the Season 2 dolls for a while, and I had seen them being circulated. The Season 2 dolls were the same concept as the last ones, mystery dolls with code makeups. However, I'm now seeing the price for a single doll from these Season 2 edition dolls being $34 for a single doll. I haven't bought any since they aren't available in my country yet, so I don't know if they're the same quality and size as the previous dolls. From what I've seen, they look a tiny bit better in terms of quality, a little bit prettier, but other than that, they don't look much better. It doesn't seem like a lot of improvement was made, and they appear to be the same size. Once again, the marketing for these dolls are so confusing in my opinion because I kept seeing ones about the Gyaru doll, which looks kind of similar to the quality of the Lana doll, except it has a UGC item because obviously it has nothing to do with the lore. So at least they stuck to their statement of only putting in-game items in the lore related dolls. There's also this duo doll thing I've seen going around, which also has very confusing marketing. It says there's a third mystery doll, but in the photo there's clearly only 2. Also can't find much information about these dolls. Maybe I'm not digging hard enough, but genuinely it should not be that hard to find regardless. The Gyaru doll actually has a UGC item instead of an in-game item. What I've seen is it's a cute little phone accessory. Let me know how you guys feel about this, if you think it should have been a DLC rather than a UGC. I feel like there's less incentive to buy it with it being a UGC, but I still would have liked that item. The Gyaru doll does look cute though, I will give them that. The doll looks a lot better. I think the quality looks better, especially with the clothes. Even if it's just polyester, I think it looks cute. The one from Target near my house says it's $25, but like I said earlier, the Lana one at Walmart is $89, and there are still more dolls planning to be released. The prices are just everywhere, so it's hard for me to give a solid price range, unfortunately. In my opinion, I find them to be releasing these dolls too quickly. When I heard about the Season 1 dolls, I thought for sure we wouldn't hear about Season 2 dolls until next year. But they released these dolls in April, and it's only October, but it was about September when they first started coming out. So that's only a 5-month difference with this new doll line. Between the time of April and October, they've only released a few major updates. They released the Petal update, the Summer update, and the Lady Gaga update. And we all know how those updates went. Petal update, I will give credit, I loved the Petal update. The item adjustment feature was and is still game changing. We got so many unique items and reworks. That was probably the only good update that we had during this time in my opinion. Summer update, mid. Not many people like the weekly updates because Dress to Impress is definitely not a weekly type of update game simply because of the amount of detail that goes into it. It's not Grow a Garden or anything like that. That's just like low effort game, no offense to Grow a Garden, but I mean, it's just blocks. A lot of the updates during this time had no thought or care put into them in my opinion. Obviously I was banned during this time so I couldn't really play it for myself, but from what I heard from the community and from my fans and supporters, they really hated this update, and they said I wasn't missing out on anything. They just seemed very careless, they were very buggy, and they didn't fix a lot of the things that players wanted to be fixed, or things that have simply been needing to be fixed for months and are still broken. And we all know how the Lady Gaga update went. I liked the items, but the marketing for the Lady Gaga event was just awful. Even the devs knew that, and we all already know how that update ended up going. Going back to the original statement that was made in April, they said they will not prioritize the dolls over the game. However, if you look at the updates between now and then, you can see a significant decrease in the quality quality of the game, and also the care that is put into the game. It definitely does seem like there's something that is being prioritized over the actual game, and to my speculation, it seems like they're prioritizing the dolls as well as different partnerships like Lady Gaga and the Wicked update. Once again, it's my speculation, but I do think part 2 of the summer quest was put off because of the Lady Gaga update, and that they prioritized that instead of the quest, which I can only assume was done because they would make a lot more money from that partnership than from the quest. And there was a lot of backlash about the quest too. The timing of this collab with Wicked was suspicious in my opinion because it was the day after the Halloween update. It almost felt like damage control after the backlash from the Halloween update and the Diamond Pass. Maybe to try and get the community to take their minds off of the fact that the update was not the best, or to avoid taking accountability. That's once again just speculation. They still have yet to make a statement, if at all, about the Halloween update. So it felt like they just wanted everybody to move on and be like, oh, we're excited for the Wicked update. But people really aren't going to ignore it. So the devs should stop ignoring it too. But anyways, let's just move on.
Okay, now not to be a hypocrite or anything, but I got 3 of them. I want to show you how much damn plastic is in these things. So I'm gonna open it. I like to unbox things anyway, so I can't open it though. It's too hard. As you can see, it's wrapped in plastic. You guys get the idea. It's wrapped in plastic. And then you have this cardboard, which is plastic like coating or whatever it's called. I don't really know. This whole thing is plastic. You have 1 package, 2, 3, and 4. So you have 4 packages. Okay, I'm gonna open the mystery card first. I'm gonna try not to freaking bend it because I feel like I bent it last time I got them. Okay, it's not a special one. We got Gala Girl. That's nice. Let me get her doll here. Not that I can open it. Okay. So there's the code and the girl. So you got this plastic. I'm gonna show you how much freaking plastic is in this thing. Let me put all the plastic to the side. Not only that, but this is coated in plastic too. These are cute. I keep the card anyway. It's fine. I'm having an off day. I didn't want to go to the car wash, so I bought these instead. Here's her hair and a bag, I guess. And this is her dress. Outfit's kind of cute. So we got all of this. I'm gonna get her dressed real fast for y'all. Okay, look at that. Look at all that plastic so far. That is a lot of plastic. Not only that, but this. Let me get her dressed. Oh, this one, oh, dang it, her hair fell off. Doesn't really stay on, but these go on her little hands. These are the hardest to put on, but Jesus. Oh my God, I'm not. There we go. Let's put her hair on. And there, her purse. So that's Gala Girl, right? I want to see if I can get anyone cool. So it's supposed to stand up. There it goes. Okay. Next one. Let's open it up. More plastic for you. All of this plastic stuff too. So let's open the card first. Again. This time we got, is that Tropical Summer? I got Tropical Summer. This is a good one. Okay, I'm gonna put her over there. I'm gonna get her body out. That's her. Get her card, the little scratch off. Getting them dressed is so annoying. I don't really... Come on. Got more plastic here. I'm gonna try to get her dressed quickly so that I don't have to do this for that long, because it's low-key irritating. It's hard to get them dressed. It's not like your average little Barbie thing. But these ones are a bit easier than the other dolls that I have. God. Those ones had like long sleeves, so you had to like shove the arm through the sleeve, and it was so hard. These are short sleeves and they just go on the back, so it's easier. I will say though, these skirts are like hard to get on. They don't quite fit. There we go. She's got herself a purse. This purse is massive, by the way. Little shoes to put on. Maybe the third one will be Lana. That's the only one I don't have because I don't really care to have it. I don't know what this bow is supposed to be on, or like where it's supposed to go. Like, is it that hole in her head? Because for one, it doesn't really fit in that hole. I genuinely do not know. I guess maybe in her hand. I don't know. Let's just put the hair on. I don't feel like dealing with that. That's Tropical Summer. I mean, I have all the dolls, so yes, these are dupes for me, but I haven't gotten any dupes that I have in my home because I bought some off of other people. Third one, last one. Let's see what we get. Maybe Lana. Who knows though? More plastic. Another card. Open it up. Take all the plastic. Oh, I didn't realize that this was a bag. It has tape on it, so it's supposed to stay in there, but obviously it doesn't. Let's open the card first. Oh, Is it Lana? Please. That's the only one I don't have. It might be Lena though. Let's see. It's Lena. What the flip, dude? I got another Lena. Are you kidding me? So now I have 2 Lenas. That's nice, I guess. Man, I was excited. I thought it was gonna be Lana. But no, it's gotta be Lena, you know? It's gotta be Lena, man. It's okay. Hers is more desirable. Got our little scratch off code. Okay. Let me open this last one. That was close. I feel like Lena is very not rare because me and my friends would get her a lot. So now we have 2 Lenas. The Lenas, oh my god, the pants are so hard to put on. Let me see if I can get them on. Harder than the skirts, that's for sure. Just try to pull it up all the way, but it goes on her butt like that. Okay, body is T, low-key. I would have been happier if it was Lana, because Lana's the only one I don't got. But of course, it has to be Lena. Or I don't like Lana. I would have preferred Lena anyway, if I were to just not get one at all. But I don't know what the bow is for. I don't know if it's supposed to go in her head or what. But it doesn't fit on her leg because the pants are too big. Okay, so that's all 3 of them. Now I'm gonna show this trash. Look at all that, just from 3. That is so much plastic. With my hand for reference, don't call my fingers sausage fingers, because someone did that on my last unboxing video, because the people are mean. We got the card, pretty cool. These 3, these are the 3 we got. So, yeah, I do it so you guys don't have to, because this is like $30 combined, so I wouldn't recommend. But anyways, yeah, that's it, bye.